Buying a home is one of the biggest decisions that you will ever make, and shocker, no one teaches us how to do this in school. Regardless of where you buy, buying a home can be overwhelming and stressful, but Nashville has its own set of quirks that you kind of need to know about. So stay with me through this video and I'll walk you through what makes the Nashville, Tennessee home buying process unique, insider tips, and walk you through step-by-step on how to buy a home here. Okay, before we dive into the step-by-step process of how to buy a home, let's talk about some key elements that make buying a home in Tennessee, specifically Nashville, unique from other states. Number one, Tennessee is a non-attorney state. That means that attorneys are not required to be hired to review your contracts and do the negotiations like in some other states. A lot of the title transfer work and the paperwork is done by your title company, which brings me to point number two. Title insurance here is key. Without mandatory attorney involvement, your title company will handle all of your title work to make sure that there are no liens against your property. This is crucial to protecting you against any potential title disputes. Number three, property taxes in Tennessee are low compared to other states and especially compared to other metro big cities. This is great when it comes to your closing costs and paying your taxes each year. I've also done another video on the pros and cons of living in Nashville if you want to check that out. Number four, dual agency. So dual agency is where one agent can represent both a buyer and seller. Now, while that's technically illegal in the state of Tennessee, most brokerages don't allow that. This is one of the reasons why it's so important for you to have a buyer's agent. They are looking out for you specifically, not both you and the seller. Okay, now we're gonna start the process of how to buy a home. Also, if you see me kind of looking down, it's because I have my buyer's guide and a full list of everything that you need to know. And so I might reference back to it every now and then, just to make sure I don't miss out any points. We wanna get you as educated and as knowledgeable about the home buying process as possible. Okay, let's start off with step number one, finding an agent. This might be one of the most important steps because this person is gonna be beside you step by step of the way and guiding you. They're like your home buying sidekick. Before diving into listings, take some time to interview a couple different agents and see who you vibe with and who you feel knows the market the best. Think of this like dating, but a lot less awkward. You're looking for someone who knows your style and who you just feel confident in. Now you might be asking, Caroline, where can I find a good agent that I can trust? Well, I recommend starting with your friends and family and see who they used when they bought their home. You can always ask if they had a good experience, and that's usually the best way to find a good agent. Now, if you don't have any friends or family in the location that you're looking to buy in, you can reach out to me below. I have a link that you can fill out and I'll help connect you to an amazing agent in your area that is knowledgeable and they will help you through this process. So once you find your match, you want to set up a buyer consultation with your agent. To me, this is where the magic happens. Your agent wants to learn your goals, your timeline, what you're excited about, what you're scared about the process. And this is where you really can get all of your questions answered. Now, the last part of step one is signing a buyer representation agreement. Don't let the fancy name scare you. It's just a way to say that you're officially teaming up with your agent and that they can work on your behalf. Okay, so now once your documents are signed, we'll move on to step number two. This is the pre-approval process and basically your starting point. I also think this is also the hardest point, and I think that's what catches a lot of buyers from starting their home buying process. While we still see cash offers here in Nashville, a majority of people are looking to buy a home with a loan. Now, you might be saying, what if I'm not looking to buy for another 6 months? Why should I get pre-approved right now? I always tell my clients, you want to put yourself in a position to be the most knowledgeable that you can be as early on. What I've seen from time and time again is either somebody thinking that they can afford a house for X amount when really they can only afford Y, or maybe they can afford a certain amount, but they only want to pay X amount per month in their mortgage. A good lender will be able to help walk through your goals and kind of what you're thinking in terms of money. Also, there might be something that comes up in your pre-approval process that could affect either your rate or your ability to purchase a home. There might be a credit ding that you might not know about. For example, when I was going through my pre-approval process to buy my first home, this was before I got my license, something came up on my pre-approval process. My lender called me and he's like, Caroline, your debt to income ratio is way off. I'm over here a little confused. At the time, the only debt that I had was student loans. Yay, student loans. But when we dug deeper into it, it turns out that for some reason, my name got caught on my parents' business credit card, and that was affecting my debt to income ratio. It took us a little bit to go to the right people to get my name off of that, and then finally I was able to move forward. So the earlier that you get ahead of these problems, the better. And one of my last points as to why you should get pre-approved early. 99.9% of sellers in the state of Tennessee will require you to submit your offer with your pre-approval letter. They want to make sure that you can afford what you are offering. And when you get into the higher price brackets, like $2 million and up, the sellers will require you to show your pre-approval letter before you can even see the house. So, pro tip, and I cannot stress this enough, please, please, please use a local lender who knows the market and who knows the nuances. I cannot tell you how many times that I have buyers come to me and they want to use so-and-so in another state. They have no idea about Tennessee, and guess what? They don't close on time because their so-and-so lender didn't get the proper paperwork and didn't get what they needed in order to close on time. So I highly, highly, highly recommend using a local lender. If you don't know a local lender, you can ask your real estate agent, as they probably have numerous lenders that they work with time and time again. That being said, if you're looking to buy a home in Nashville or looking for a local recommendation, click the link below, schedule a quick introductory call with me, and I'd love to help you find an amazing resource. Now, real quick, we're just gonna do a brief overview of what goes into a mortgage payment. You probably already know this, but it's nice to have a little refresher. First is the principal, which is the amount that the lender loans you. Second is the interest, and this is what the lender charges you to loan you the money. Third, your property taxes, which are assessed by the local government. And just a note on that, Tennessee has one of the lowest property taxes, by the way. And number 4, homeowner's insurance. Now, sometimes this is paid outside of your mortgage payment, so just make sure to talk with your lender about that. And last but not least, HOA payments. Those are always paid outside of your mortgage, so just make sure to calculate that in. Okay, so I have a full list of mortgage do's and do nots when you are looking to get pre-approved in my buyer's guide, which I have right here. You can download that in the link below. I highly suggest that. There's so much information in there. You know, if you have some questions about the pre-approval process or just anything that we talk about, this is such a good reference for you to refer back to. So make sure that you download it. Like I said, the link is below and it's absolutely free. Step number 3, starting your search. Now comes the most fun and exciting part of the process, which is looking for your home. Now, most of you have already started looking on Zillow for your home, and I just highly recommend getting with your agent and have them setting up a search on your MLS. The reason for this, literally just had a client yesterday text me that they wanted to see a home that they saw on Zillow, and guess what? It's already under contract. And these third-party vendors, they don't always update their systems. So I would just highly recommend getting a search on your MLS. Okay, so one of my favorite things to do for my clients is to set up a search on the Compass platform. I'm just gonna go into this for a little bit because it makes me excited. I don't know, it's fun, it's techie, and I think it just streamlines the whole home buying process. So one of the things that the Compass platform does is it helps me pull private exclusives, off-market listings, and coming soon listings that are only available to Compass agents. And it helps my clients get an exclusive look at listings before they even go on the market. And if you remember the market a couple of years ago, it was absolutely crazy. And this helps my buyers be able to look at homes and not compete with a ton of other buyers. Another reason that I love the Compass platform is because it's so easy to use. It's kind of like Facebook, where you can favorite your favorite listings, you can dislike listings, you can leave comments, request tours, and I feel like it just helps elevate the entire home buying experience. So if you're not seeing anything on the market that you really like or on your MLS, have your agent reach out to other agents to see if they can help you find off-market listings. Also, if you're new to Nashville or if you're thinking about moving here, I have another amazing guide. It is my relocation guide, and it literally tells you everything you need to know about moving to Nashville. We have annual events, sports and recreation, popular attractions, the music scene, transportation, what the climate, livability is. I literally have everything in this guide. So if you're interested, make sure to check out the other link below and you can download my free Moving to Nashville guide. Okay, now we have found the most perfect home for you and we need to put your offer in writing. At this point, your agent is going to talk with you about the different things that you need to put in your offer, which is called a purchase and sale agreement. Now, as I mentioned before, every single state is different, and this is, specifically for Tennessee and Nashville. So just make sure to check with your agent about their home buying process. One of the things is the forms. Every single state has different forms. So just make sure to have that conversation with your agent. Now, let's talk about some of the different things that will be included in your offer. The first, your purchase price. Now, I have a lot of buyers come to me and they say, Caroline, how do I know I'm not overpaying for a home? First, you want to have your agent research the comps. This is comparable homes that have either sold or are under contract in the neighborhood that are similar square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, etc. That will be able to give you more knowledge on what things are selling for that are comparable to the home that you're looking at. The second thing you can do is an appraisal contingency, which I'll get into a little bit later. Number two, what type of financing are you planning on doing and how much are you planning to put down on your down payment? Now, are you doing all cash? Cash is king here, but like I said, a majority of people are going to be doing a loan. Are you going to have a financing contingency? Which? Number three, speaking of contingencies, is your contract going to be contingent upon anything? Now, here are some of the most common contingencies that I see. You have your financing contingency, appraisal contingency, inspection contingency, and your sale of home contingency. If you want a little bit more information about each of these, make sure to download my buyer's guide. I go into them in a little bit more depth. And if you still have questions, you can set up a buyer consultation with me. Okay, next is your closing costs. On every transaction, the seller has a set of closing costs and the buyer has a set of closing costs. Now, these can range from multiple different items, from the seller paying off their mortgage to the buyer having an appraisal fee, lender fee. There's a whole set of closing costs. One of the things that you can negotiate in your contract is asking the seller to pay your title insurance here in Tennessee. You can also ask the seller to help give you a credit for your closing costs. And there's a couple different ways that we can do this that we'll talk about in your buyer consultation. But depending on what type of loan you have, you can always ask the seller up for X amount to go towards your closing cost. Okay, next one is your earnest money. How much earnest money are you gonna put down? Typically in Tennessee, buyers put down 1% of the purchase price, but if you're competing with other offers, you might wanna put down a little bit more. Next is the home inspection. We touched briefly on the inspection contingency earlier. This part of the contract states how many days you have to do a home inspection, if there is a resolution period, and so on. Next is your closing date. Now, depending on what type of loan you have or what your due diligence period is, in Tennessee, you're typically looking anywhere from 30 to 45 days after going under contract to close. Now, this is not every single contract. New construction is different and there's a bunch of different outliers, so just make sure to talk with your agent. Okay, next is commission. Now, this didn't used to be such a big problem until the NAR settlement came, and so now we just want to make sure everything is laid out so that you're not left paying anything that you're not aware of. When you sign your buyer representation agreement, your agent usually has a spot in there that says how much they charge. It also says if the seller does not pay that, then you are reliable and responsible for it. Now, don't freak out. I know you're already thinking, how can I pay my agent's commission plus my down payment plus my closing costs? This is where in your offer on the home that you're looking at buying, you need to negotiate for the seller to pay your buyer's agent commission. If you have any questions about this, I highly recommend speaking with your buyer's agent. They'll be able to walk you through that process. Okay, now this might seem like a silly one and just a very minor detail, but there's a reason I am telling you this. What items remain in the house? You want to make sure to read the Tennessee Association of Realtors, the purchase and sale contract, because there is a good paragraph of a list of things that will stay in the house. If you take anything away from this video, please take this. In Tennessee, the refrigerator, washer, and dryer are considered personal property and do not come with the home unless it is in your contract. When I tried to buy my first condo, once again, this is before I got my real estate license, I had an absolutely horrible agent. When I asked them about the appliances, they said, oh, they usually come with the home. And as I was looking through the contract, I was like, no, they don't. The refrigerator, washer, and dryer is not even written in there. Their mistake almost cost me $7,000 out of pocket. So just make sure you read your contract, and if you want your fridge, washer, and dryer, make sure to put it in your offer. When you submit your offer, you also submit your pre-approval letter, and once the seller receives that, they can do one of three things. They can either accept your offer, they can decline your offer, or they can send you a counter offer. Once you receive that counter offer, you can do one of three things. You can accept it, reject it, or counter. And this goes back and forth until the buyer and seller come to agreeable terms. Also, I've got to show you this. I am a little bit basic, and so I had my Stanleys engraved with my logo, and I get these to clients, but I absolutely love them. I know you're probably feeling extremely overwhelmed, so just take a deep breath in and just know this is why you have a real estate advisor beside you. If you're looking to buy in Nashville, Brentwood, or the Franklin area, I would love the chance to be interviewed and to help you through your home buying process. If you want to get started, you can click my link below and just set up a quick 15 introductory call just to see if we would be a good fit. Also, if you're looking outside of the Nashville market and still need help finding an agent, you can click the other link below and I'll help connect you to an amazing, awesome, knowledgeable agent. All right, congratulations, you are under contract. Once the contract is fully executed, then you're officially under contract, and there are still a couple more steps that we need to do to get you to the closing table. From the time that you're under contract to the time that you close is what we refer to as the contract to close period. Here are a couple different things that we'll work on. The first is your earnest money. Now, depending on what you put in your offer, this is typically due anywhere from 3 to 5 days after going under contract. And typically it is at a title company. But like I said, just refer to your contract to see where you need to deposit it. The next is your loan application and appraisal if you have one. This is where I usually work behind the scenes with my clients on getting the contract over to the lender and helping get them everything that they need to keep moving forward. You as the buyer will need to continue providing paperwork to your lender, so just make sure to do that in a timely fashion so that you can close on time. Next is your home inspection. This is where you hire a home inspector and they give you an in-depth analysis of the house. Usually this is anywhere from 5 to 10 days after going under contract, and this is usually paid outside of your closing costs. Depending on what you put in your offer, you may supply a repair replacement proposal to the sellers, and you can either negotiate for them to do repairs or for them to give you a credit. Like I said, this just really depends on what you put in your offer, so just make sure to read through all of that. Next, you'll want to work on getting a homeowner's insurance policy for your home before you're closing. The sooner you do this, the better. Usually different insurance companies will give you discounts if you bundle home and auto with them. So just look at a couple different resources and compare rates. Okay, next is the period that I like to call the lull. This is once we have gone through most of your contingencies, things start to really quiet down. The most important part here is usually you're still supplying different documentation and different things to your lender. Make sure to continue doing that so that you can close on time. During this time, you'll also want to set up your utilities and schedule your movers. Woohoo! All right, step number 7, arriving to closing day. We're almost there, so take a deep breath because you almost have your dream home and the keys in your hand. The first thing we want to do here is the final walkthrough. And during this final walkthrough, we usually do it a day or two before closing. You can also do it day of. But this is where we confirm that the appliances are in working order, the house is left in the same, if not better condition than when you originally saw it, and we confirm that all repairs have been completed. Another maybe not so fun story. When I was buying my first home, my agent never mentioned the final walkthrough to me. And thank goodness the place did not flood, or else I would have been responsible for it. When I asked him if I should set up a final walkthrough, he said, yeah, here's the listing agent's number, you can set it up. Lastly, right before closing, the title company will work on balancing numbers with your lender, and then they usually will send those final numbers to you a couple days before closing. All right, we're to the day of closing. This is your last step. The closing typically takes place at the title company where your services were ordered. Now, in the state of Tennessee, the seller does not attend the closing with you. which is great because I feel like that could get kind of awkward. At your closing, it typically is just the attorney, yourselves, and your agent. Closing typically takes about an hour to complete as you have a substantial amount of paperwork that you need to sign before getting your keys. Now, a couple things that you'll need is a government issued ID, your wired funds for your closing costs and down payment, and patience. Honestly, it's like a pretty good stack of papers that you have to sign, but don't worry, a lot of this information or a lot of those papers you've already seen. It's a majority of your loan application that they just have to have a wet signature on. On a note regarding your funds, this is my PSA. Beware of wire fraud. It is very much a real thing, and the last thing you want to do is to send a chunk of money to somebody who is scamming you. So just make sure to talk with your title company and your real estate agent as to how to make sure to not be caught up in wire fraud. Make sure to talk with your bank ahead of time to make sure that you don't need to be in person to wire your funds. True story, I had a client that was relocating here. Their bank is in Boston and they're buying a house in Nashville, and their bank required them to be in person or to send their money. So that means they would have had to fly to Boston, wire their money, fly back to Nashville to sign. So just to make sure you don't have any last minute headaches on day of closing, go ahead and talk with your bank to make sure that you can do a wire not in person. This is a ton of information. So like I said before, don't forget to download my free buyer's guide that you can reference back time and time again. One thing I want you to remember is that it is never too early to start educating yourself on the home buying process. I'd love to connect with you to help you find the perfect home in Music City or anywhere else you're looking. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.